so that you can make concrete and original statements on your self-promotion or your Jiko PR and your reason for application, your shibodoki, during the interview. I recommend conducting your self-analysis in Japanese. An interviewer sees multiple applicants, so you need to make a good first impression and stand out through your own personal experiences. Third is to know your own strengths and weaknesses. And finally, to be more concrete in giving your examples when you're doing your self-promotion, your Jiko PR, and when you're stating your reason for application, your shibodoki. Hello everyone, this is Cam from Swimmy channel. Did you know that conducting a self-analysis or self-assessment is the first step in the whole job hunting process? Self-analysis involves the understanding of your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, priorities, interests, and your passion or the inner you. This will get you thinking about how you can best appeal to a potential employer, which will also help you during the interview process and when filling up your application forms. So in the last video, we introduced you to the process of job hunting in Japan. We talked about the outline, the schedule, and the internship, and we also spoke briefly about the Shinsotsu Sayo, or the hiring of new graduates, and mid-career recruitment. I thought of walking you through your job hunting in Japan, and as a continuation of the previous video, let's finally start your job search. So what is self-assessment or self-analysis? So self-analysis involves asking yourself questions, which includes everything from your strong and weak points, your preferences, your skills, your interests, your dreams, your values, and your outlook on life. Self-analyzing is not only done in Japan, but is also done in other countries as well. So one way to assess yourself effectively is by having an objective viewpoint, so that you can make concrete and original statements on your self-promotion or your Jiko PR and your reason for application, your shibodoki, during the interview. Since you are applying for a job in a Japanese company, I recommend conducting your self-analysis in Japanese. This will not only save you time in preparing for your application forms, such as your resumes and detailing your work history, but it will also prepare you for your interview. An interviewer sees multiple applicants, so you need to make a good first impression and stand out through your own personal experiences. With self-analysis, you can find your own strengths and the abilities that you have gained, and you can find out how you can make full use of these abilities and be productive in the company you want to work for. So what are the objectives in conducting self-analysis? So one is to find your future goals and career plans. Second is to define your own value. Third is to know your own strengths and weaknesses. And finally, to be more concrete in giving your examples when you're doing your self-promotion, your Jiko PR, and when you're stating your reason for application, your shibodoki. So let me discuss with you the advantages of conducting a self-analysis. First, you will have more conviction when you convey your personal experiences. Your acquired skills and strengths are validated with the commonly asked self-promotion or Jiko PR, and when also asked for your reason for application or your shibodoki during the interview. Abstract answers are easily overlooked by interviewers. Another advantage is that you can firmly explain your best feature when asked during the interview. During the interview, you may be asked questions that will check the consistency of your answers. The interviewer will be looking out for exaggerated or falsified statements. Since you have prepared yourself well with your self-analysis, you can be more specific and more persuasive during the self-promotion in both the face-to-face interview and written application. Through a self-analysis, you can also avoid possible job mismatches. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, a large number of new graduates usually leave the company on the third year after entering the company. Although there are many reasons why people change their jobs, I am certain that conducting a self-analysis can be one of the factors that can keep you from leaving the company. Taking measures and preparing for every possible situation is also one way to make your job hunting more effective. And now that we have understood the purpose and the advantages of self-analysis, let's actually analyze with this efficient self-analysis method. There are several methods available when conducting self-analysis. You can analyze with your memo, you can make a checklist and other things, but however, it is not just about thinking or analyzing in your head. It is also about thoroughly organizing your thoughts and writing your self-promotion or GCOPR in a more logical manner. Perhaps for most of you, this may be your first time in conducting a self-analysis by yourself. And even if you understand what you need to write, you may end up asking, how do you do a self-analysis in the first place? Or what is the most effective way to do self-analysis? Or how do you find one's unique trait? So the first step in self-analysis will require a bit of backtracking and begins by reflecting on your past objectively. You can divide your experiences into 3 parts: what you have engaged in before coming to Japan, what made you come to Japan, and what you have struggled with and overcome in Japan. For example, you can look at your old experiences, and from these experiences, you can actually identify your selling points. You can continue asking questions to yourself like, what have I achieved during this period? Or what do I regret during this period? What are my unforgettable experiences? Even negative experiences can turn into an advantage if you have made an effort in overcoming these experiences. After reflecting on your past in step 1, we can look into these experiences further and identify which ones had an impact on your personal growth. What difficult challenges did you experience? How did you overcome this difficult challenge? You can expand your thought process and try to remember the steps you took to solve the problem. Most often, applicants make use of these difficult challenges as their weak points. However, you can turn these challenges into an advantage and your strong point. You can look at this table here and write down and fill it up and see your thought process over that challenge. Please do not forget to add supporting grounds to your personal experiences to make it more concrete and convincing. Gather the points identified in step 1 and step 2 and use them to write your self-promotion or your GCOPR. Self-promotion is often used when submitting your application and also during the interview. It is essential to make a good first impression, so when you promote yourself, be sure to make a strong statement about yourself and give concrete examples and explanations. You can organize your statements using the order of the situation, and then your thought process or the thoughts behind wanting to overcome that challenge, the actions you took to overcome the challenge, and the results. What you think about yourself is usually different from how other people think about you. Therefore, learning about yourself through other people's eyes and by knowing the difference from every perspective, you can discover more strengths that you may have overlooked. This would be especially useful during the interview. The methods of being analyzed by others begins by asking several people about your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, their impressions of you, etc. I would recommend comparing the results of your own self-analysis with the opinions of others. The similar traits that you find are your strengths, so it is wise to use them on your self-promotion or your GCOPR. I think many people would be embarrassed to ask people about themselves, but since being evaluated is an essential part of job hunting, let's take a proactive approach. So as you can see here, these are the list of questions that you can ask for your evaluation. You can ask, what do you think are my strengths? What do you think are my weaknesses? What do you think are my unique traits? What do you think is my personality? Or what kind of impression do I give, including my appearance? How would you introduce me to other people? Do I have any traits or personalities you admire? What kind of work do you think is best for me? What is your most memorable incident with me? Is there any job hunting advice you can give? So these are all the kinds of questions and similar other things that you can ask when asking for your evaluation. Based on the results from your self-analysis and the evaluation from others, you can easily identify your strong and weak points. However, there may be people who are worried about not being able to find any material worthy for self-promotion. So let me introduce to you how to utilize the results of both self-analysis and evaluation from others for the purpose of self-promotion. I can't seem to find anything that I have worked hard on, or there doesn't seem to be anything that I'm proud of, or there's nothing that I can appeal to when I apply to a job. If you are stuck in this kind of situation, do not panic and try to look back again. There are many things in your daily life that you can use without even realizing it. For example, you may think that you would look weak because you did not perform any leadership roles before. Try to look at it more objectively. Remember the club activities you did, your position, and more importantly, the lessons you have learned. Even if you're not a leader, your contribution as a schedule manager or your influence that led to the victory of your team can also be just as good as an example to use. So try to conduct your self-analysis from a different perspective in formulating your self-promotion. Ways to look at it differently from another point of view would be like what you've learned through past experiences, what you have contributed, the lessons learned from past mistakes, other things that you have accomplished, and what you have continuously been doing. If you still can't find any appealing points even after conducting a self-analysis based on the guidelines mentioned, we can still pinpoint a trait that you can use. For example, saying that you're actively addressing what you're doing or trying to do now, or starting a new activity, will be your strengths and special traits, which will lead to your selling point. You can also mention activities, and these can be used for self-promotion. You can talk about your club or group activities, your part-time jobs, the volunteer work you do, seminars or researches you've done, and other extracurricular activities. Due to the competitive job market, some job applicants end up being so desperate for a position that they are prepared to lie to secure an interview and hopefully the job. Lies and exaggeration often relate to professional and academic qualifications, place of education, previous experience, and skills. Companies don't just look at your qualifications, but also your personality through entry sheets and interviews to see if you're a good fit. It is crucial that you convey your unique traits with your personal experiences and have the confidence to do so. And that's it for a self-analysis topic for today. How did you feel about the results of your self-analysis? Conducting self-analysis and evaluation from others takes time, but the quality of the evaluation and the results would greatly affect your job hunting. It is never too early to prepare ahead and do an in-depth analysis to set ourselves apart from others. In our next video, we shall be explaining in detail about how to conduct industry and company research. So there are 4 main points. First is the industry classification list and other things you may need to know about this. Second are the effective ways and means to do industry research. Third are the points you need to consider when doing industry research. And lastly, you'll find out other methods of corporate research. Subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos in the future. And if you or your friends find this video useful, please like, share, and leave a comment below. If you have any questions or have any video suggestions, we would love to hear your thoughts as well. So until our next video, bye-bye!